history of Pink Panther. You'll find this interesting. So Pink Panther actually comes from a movie in the 1960s, 1963. It's credited to a man called Blake Edwards. Those of you here who are old enough remember when Pink Panther was the cartoon. The younger people might know Pink Panther as the original image that I showed. It was composed by a man called Mancini. And if you think about it, here's why we call it the Pink Panther problem. First, the tune is very recognizable. And second, the tune sounds very simple. That's the tune. When you see successful business people, the likes of which you saw here earlier, across the many panels that they were in, and you observe them from a distance, and you say, oh, he runs a beverage business, he runs a nightclub, or she's in media, or she's a journalist. Oh, that's easy, I can do that. What you're doing is you're committing the sin of the Pink Panther problem. You hear the tune, and you understand the tonality, and you begin to think, because it looks easy from the outside, it must be easy when you do it. So let's imagine all of us here in this room wanted to perform the article of Pink Panther. What would that look like? Well, first, it wouldn't be possible for you to do it alone, unless you were maybe playing the main tune and you were using a saxophone. But if you really wanted to play the whole article, you would need an orchestra. An orchestra? An orchestra. Have a look. So here's the question. When you listen to the article of music, who do you credit for the act? Is it the lead, the saxophonist who's playing? Or is it the rest of the orchestra that's waiting for their turn? You can watch that video on YouTube. It's a 6-minute long video. And immediately after the lead finishes playing the opening lead, what we call in music the reprise, the opening stanza, the rest of the orchestra joins. Or do you credit the conductor, who has the courage to turn away from the audience so that they might be able to lead the orchestra? Do you credit the composer who wrote the score? Any of you here who play musical instruments know that music looks like it's just coming from the gut, but when you play it, there's an article of notation written in front of you. It's called the score. Who do you credit for the genius? The answer is everybody. And that's the difficulty with building a scalable business, is you want to be everything. The conductor, the composer, the player, the trumpeter. Some of you are even your own audience. You put up the post and then you comment on your own post. And then you like yourself. And then you reshare what you've liked for yourself. And then you download yourself and you WhatsApp yourself to yourself. Hear me and hear me now. If you want to build anything worth building, you can't do it alone. Impossibile. Trust me, I've tried. So, my theory is this. Entrepreneurs don't build businesses. That's not what we do. Entrepreneurs build teams. Teams build businesses. That's the trick. This deck that you see here, I can assure you, doesn't have a single spelling error in it. I can assure you that throughout the deck, you're going to see a hue of orange, which, if you zoom in on the camera now, is the same hue of orange on my VT, on my shirt. It's the same hue of orange on my VT in my jacket. Comrades, that does not happen by mistake. It's because there is an intentional process to color code everything we do. There is a team executing on the work. Now, what you see is Vusi here standing. What you're not aware of is I'm an amalgam of 60 people in the organization who make sure that I get to stand here. Just the fact that when I'm speaking, I need my very well-grained African cup of coffee. Doesn't happen by mistake. So, what we're going to do is we're going to spend some time talking about how to build a business that builds, how to build a team that builds the business. If you learn this skill, I promise you now, I guarantee you, every single opportunity you look at, every market you look at, every business you want to get into, begins to change in complexion, because you don't ask yourself questions like, could I make money, could I get customers? You begin to ask yourself questions like, could I build a team good enough to compete with the best team in the market at the moment? How do we build teams? So we're going to spend some time talking about that. Already told you a little bit about Mr. Machine, who composed this Pink Panther song. So let's get into doing some work now. I'm going to jump through this very quickly. What are the other things that might look easy? Here's the first one. Sushi. Who here has ever had sushi? Right. Who here has ever made sushi? Made it? Was it any good? We don't know for sure. Maybe let's ask the question this way. To whomever it is that ate it, are they still alive? I want to challenge you when you leave here today to try and make sushi. I've tried it. I've actually tried it. It's very, very difficult. Just the ability of cutting the little bits into these little bits and then mixing the rice into the little bits, very, very complex. Hard to do, but looks easy from the outside. It's just sushi. What else might be hard to do? Well, this is a building built, would you believe it, in the year 1929. It's an architectural building based in Barcelona. The materials used at the time were ahead of their time, but today we look at them in 2024, what is now 105 years later, and it looks contemporary and it still works. It's got a beautiful float-in pool, an infinity pool inside it. It's even got air conditioning that was thought about in 1929 that ventilates the system today without using a single watt of electricity and power, even in the heat of Barcelona summers. Crazy, right? From the outside, all you see are just concrete and marble slabs put together. But there is a process to architecture. What else might be hard to do? This is my third and final example. Does anybody know about haiku poetry? Any of you here read haiku poetry? Yes? There's always one nerd in the room. Any of you here, gentlemen, any of you here who